I'm a little bit more organised today. Actually, I tried to be a little bit more organised. I will be using the more Narky sentiments today, and I thought, oh, I'll put it on the product of the week prior to the live. And it appears I used this one last week, didn't I? Yep, I did. So it's already there as product of the week, which saves me a lot of work, but I do need to use another set. Can't keep using the same ones. That's all right, Vicky, no problem, no rush. Oh, that's strange, Penny. I'm not too sure why. Hopefully you're able to watch it on your phone okay. How weird. Yes, Vicky, I do recall you mentioning this one actually. Where are we? Yes. I am using this one. And I've got a trolley, well, a couple of trolleys. What I do, Vicky, you strike me as hiya, Karen L. You strike me as the same sort of type, actually, but correct me if I'm wrong. So, where I'm always buying, I don't like to file them away before using them. So, I've got two of the, you know, the trolleys from IKEA and Hobbycraft. I've got two of them completely full with new stash. And every time I make something, I try and challenge myself to use something from there rather than buying too much at the moment. And I was rummaging through thinking, what can I do? What can I do? And then I saw... where have I put my box of goodies? I don't normally do this, but I'm going to be doing it tonight. I don't normally use other brands on the Monday live, but I saw this one and I thought the headphones were perfect. That sentiment came straight to mind, so that's why I chose that one, but it is a fun one. Hi Mandy, how are you? Right, I'm going to get started. There's a good number of you here already, so we don't need to wait around and delay you guys any further. So tonight, I did pull it on my socials. I've already lost a card. No, I haven't. Here we go. So this is the card that I'm going to be making today. It was a bit of practice makes perfect. So tonight there will be a couple of things that I'll be doing differently. It will still look the same, but I made a few errors along the way. So hopefully I'll get it better second time round. I will be using my more Narky sentiments, which I did use last week, I'm afraid. And I will be using, I don't normally advertise other brands during my lives, but sometimes it can be a bit difficult. Where they're just sentiments, I appreciate that it's hard trying to pair them or build a card around a small sentiment. I fully appreciate that. So I will be using this set today. I won't be saying any more on that because it's all about Dani Doodles, right? Same, Mandy. Rather chilly. It keeps going up and down the temperature. We don't know whether we're coming or going, do we? Right. So, I have cut my card down. So, it's a DL slimline, but it's not quite the same measurements as a DL. I've cut it slimmer to fit the die. The die, I have to be honest, I'm not too sure where this has come from. I found this in my stash. It's a innie scalloped with an outside stitched and then the cutting line. So by using both of them together, I end up with this. So I haven't detached them. They are held together by the two metal threads either end, but I wanted that part of it, so that's what we'll be doing. And I will be using the centre of what comes out of that to ink up as well. So let's start by popping those aside. Let's leave that here for reference, as always. And I'll start by inking up my innie scallop. So the first mistake that I made was not knowing, once they came apart, not referencing which was top and bottom. And believe it or not, although this is a symmetrical pattern, once this has been cut out, it doesn't fit back in unless it goes in the way it came out, if that makes sense. So I've marked it both with the top, because also, as I've said before, I like to keep the darker colours at the bottom and the lighter at the top. So for that purpose, and for it to fit back in the frame, I've marked the top on both pieces. So I'll pop those aside. I won't be using those for now, but I will be using Blueprint Sketch Distress Oxide. I need to start collecting the inks of these, actually. When I first was crafting many years ago, Salty Ocean and Broken China. When I first crafted many years ago, it was the inks that I collected, nearly had all of them before I destashed them. But when I've come back, I've only gone with the oxides. But now I've got all the oxides, I really need to start collecting the inks. But the thing with the oxide products is, once you start going, it's a very expensive collection, isn't it? By the time you've got the inks, the distress oxides, the sprays, the crayons, the this, the that, the list goes on. So I'll just use my messing mat. There's a good number of you here tonight. I hope you manage to stay and I don't lose any of you, or technology doesn't give up on me. So the first colour I'll be using, let's just make sure that that's up the top. And I'll go with the lighter of the three, which is the Broken China. So this doesn't, I need to replace this actually. It's not a very good sponge, but it will do for this evening. I'm just going to get my post-it note so that I don't get fingerprints all over this. And then I'm just going to go in. And again, using the usual rule of thumb, I'm working with 3 colours, so I'm going to be working in thirds, but taking it just beyond the third to give something to work with, if that makes sense. So this will be the part that stays the same, and then maybe this amount here will be blended with the next blue. Pretty boring information there, but that's how I work. Right, so I'll leave that there for now, because I'll be coming back to that. The next colour I'll go in with is the Salty Ocean. And I'll blend that straight onto the white, and then as the ink starts depleting on the sponge, then I'll blend back up into the Broken China. That's blended really nicely actually, so I'll continue further on. And we'll take that just beyond a third. Repeat that bit, there we go. So I'm going to pop that aside, and then I'll come in with the Blueprint Sketch. So I'll be doing another panel in a moment. In exactly the same way, and that's going to be the background which goes behind both of these pieces. So working from the bottom so that area will be darker, and then using the residual on the sponge just to blend it back up into the Salty Ocean. And actually I'm not going to fuss around with that too much, because I actually quite like the blend of that. So that's that done. So I'm going to pop that aside, and I'm just going to repeat the process with a plain bit of card. So this card I've cut down to the same size as my DL. These have all been pre-measured to fit around the die, which I mentioned. So this is just going to cover the entirety of the card front so that no white is seen, just so that, as here, the colour reflects the same way from the centre to the outside. Although that one was done a bit tits up, to be honest. There's no other way of saying that. This is where I went wrong and I had to put the panel upside down for the die to fit in. I won't bother going into it, but we'll see. We'll rectify that as I go along. So I'm using that, and then let's go in with the lightest colour again first. So I'm just working, I've got off camera here, I'm just getting my sponge on my applicator. So we'll just, in fact, I'm just going to wipe that clean because I don't want to ruin my ink pads. So, broken china, 1/3 going in. I can't believe, actually, as bad as this sponge is on the applicator, it's absolute state, and there's no excuse for it. I have got some spares, but I'm so frugal that I can't bring myself to switch it over yet. I can't believe it's still going, despite the fact it does keep falling off. Okay, so I won't repeat myself. I'll probably just go a little bit quiet here, just while for the sake of not repeating myself. That's alright, Karen L. No problem at all. No need for good behaviour here. The card that I'm working on, as always, is white Super Smooth 300. It's the only card that I'll use for ink blending and alcohol pen colouring. It is... oh, it's lush. It's a really lush card to work with, and it's all purpose then, isn't it? So you can use it for you can throw water at it and it still, it takes it really well, to a certain extent. I wouldn't go in with heavy watercolouring, but if you want to make a few splashes on there or do some light water work on there, you'll get away with it. Blueprint sketch. How is everyone? I hope everyone's had a good Monday, good start to the week. Just blending that back up. Just going a bit lighter handed as I go, come up there. That'll do. Right, so I'm going to pop them aside for now, but I do need to come back to those in a moment. I can't remember which one it is that I need to use, but pop them aside while I'm not using them. Right, so by the time all that goes back together, that's how it'll come together. And then you've got the same colours echoed around the edge. Trying to straighten that up, but there we go. Right, so what I need to now do is match these two pieces back up. So I want, pop that aside. I want the top marked to match, because that's the only way the inside will fit back within the frame. So I'm just going to pop that back in for now, and then I can stamp. I can stamp onto there. I can move that away actually, because the stamp that I'm using doesn't quite sit within the centre. It overhangs slightly, and that's a mistake that I learned first time round. So to rectify it, I just drew the detail back in just round on the white scallop frame. But this time what I'm hoping to do is by leaving the frame in just temporarily, the stamp will go over the frame as well. Oh, Vicky, is he on the flight now, or is he waiting to fly? So I'm just using my anti-static on there. I should have actually gone in with the heat gun, but it's all good. Oh, crikey, Karen, that sounds like a lot of hard work. But well worth it in the end, I'm sure. I don't think I've got much of a family tree, to be honest. I don't think I'd be there 5 minutes if I was facing my family tree back. Right, so this is the Musicon Weld Off from Visible Image, and I'll just be using the headphones for now. So I'm going to pop that onto my acrylic block. What I did do is I just manipulated it to the best that I could to make it as small as I could without distorting the image. So that's the great thing with photopolymer, is that you can bend it. There we go. So I've just stuck that down there, brought the earpieces in closer together. I will be doing this in black and then embossing with clear embossing ink powder. So let's just get that. So I'll be using the VersaFine Onyx Black, and then just the Cosmic Shimmer clear embossing powder. No, Mum, some traced us, didn't they, if you recall? But yeah, they weren't really worth knowing, was they? I cut them off. Bad people. Vicky. I would take a mad Irish poet any day over the family that I managed to get in contact with. Right, so just finding this central and going in. As I went down there, it went slightly off to the right, which is a little bit annoying, but never mind. And what I'll do, I'm just letting the card absorb the ink, and then what I'll do to emboss, I shan't bother with the white scallop frame. I shall just emboss this panel. So I'm just going to pop that aside, and let's hope that this is stamped nicely. That'll do me. So let's bring in my baking sheet. Oh wow, Karen, it's a small world, isn't it? So you've been close, your family has been close to royalty. Mind you, you are royalty, aren't you, Karen? Queen Karen. It's got a ring to it, actually. There we go. I'm just going to heat set that, so do excuse the noise. Oh, okay. Do you worry about him, Vicky? Do you enjoy flying, or do you get quite nervous yourself? Never gets old, does it, this process? The heat setting of the embossing powder is absolutely mesmerising. Still one of the most fascinating techniques in crafting, I find. Just going to straighten it out a little bit. Oh, bless you, Vicky. Well, wishing him a safe journey home, and for your sake, the sooner the better. So now that that is done, I'm just going to move the frames because I don't want them to get mucky with the next few steps. So bear with, that'll do. So I'm going to pop that back. And then from that same set, I'm going to be using this textured stamp here. Right, so pop that on my stamp block, and for this, it looks like I used, doesn't really matter, well, it shouldn't really matter, shall I say, but here I am, still deliberating over it. I'm going to use Salty Ocean for this one. So, let's see, yeah. So I'm just going to ink this up. There's a bit of something on there, bit of fluff. Don't know what that is, maybe an eyelash. Right. And then I'm just going to pop this down anywhere. In fact, let's bring in that messy mat. So it can go over, because I can just wipe that back off. It doesn't have to come out perfectly, which you can see it's not coming out perfectly, but we don't want perfection. How long does it take to get from Poland then on an aeroplane? Well, I don't like the symmetry of that. That's bothering me already. That takes away some of it. Right, so I'm just going to wipe that down. And I am going to blast that with the heat tool. I'm just going to wipe that. Just where I overlapped the headphones there, I'm just going to wipe that back. There we go. Okay. Oh, I didn't realise Poland was that close. My geography is absolutely abysmal. My son teaches me, well, my sons teach me a lot. And one of my sons taught me, which I don't know why, but it blew my mind. But one of my sons taught me that Russia is in Asia. And I always thought it was Europe, but apparently it overlaps Europe and Asia. There you go. So fun fact for the day there. Right, so I have heat set that, and I am going to go over it with my anti-static as well, just for safe measure. So that's how we're looking so far, if I hadn't already. There we go. What's helping invite Spencer's sweet peas? What do you mean by that, Karen? Sorry, I may have skim read that comment a little bit, so pardon me if it's my ignorance there. Right, I'm just getting my water. And stupidly, I've left my brush in it overnight, so the wood goes a bit manky. I'm just gonna dry that wood off. There we go. No, Vicky, same. Absolutely same as you there. Right. Let me just pop that card aside. I'm just going to bring in my fancy nail mat, just while I do some splats on here. So this is as recommended by Heidi, the Yorkshire crafter. This is a pre-made, you know, when we crafters, we water down some paint, don't we, and then we splat using that. But this is like a calligraphy ink. So this is Winsor & Newton and cobalt blue, and it just saves a hell of a lot of hassle and cleaning up. And all I do, the whole brush doesn't want to go, well, it won't fit in there. It's not doesn't want to go in there, it's got no chance of going in there. And then I'm just going to splat this just over the card, like so. So I don't think I require any more on there. I'm just going to wipe this down again and pop that away. And then I will be coming back to this stamp set for a final time as soon as I can see where I put the stamp set. There we go. And we'll be using the like the shock waves, lightning bolt, that's it, the lightning bolt. Right, so I can pop that here for now. Let's get rid of that. So I'm just going to dry this, pardon me while I just do this. Oh, I see, Karen. Oh, wow. A very popular flower indeed. It must be really interesting going back through your entire family tree. You could get lost in it, I should imagine. So this is just to dry that ink up there that I did the splatting with. Just taking some of the curl out of that. Lovely. And then just going in with that lightning bolt. I'm going to use the anti-static first, just for safe measure. Then I'll be using embossing ink for this. So my go-to is the Versamark. And this is just a little subtle something in the background. I always start off by doing this, but I get really lazy because I always return to doing it the way we're not supposed to, which is by taking the stamp to the ink pad. Just lazy. And I'm just randomly stamping that anywhere I fancy, just all over this panel. No, I'd want it to get lost, Mum. I wouldn't want to get lost with it. I'd want it to get lost. Can't imagine there's anything worth seeing there, to be honest. And then just do a little off the page there. I'm going to cover that up because the last thing I want is embossing powder on there. Pop the stamp aside. And let's bring in my parchment. Now hopefully there won't be too much residual powder. I can see some already. So you'll have to excuse me just while I go round with a dry brush and pick some of that back up. Or flick it off. Right, so I'm just going to do that. So this is just a really basic paintbrush with something mucky on it. There we go. And just flicking that off from, what is that? I don't know, I can't tell if that's half of the brush or glue. Right, flicking that off. Probably saw my head there, sorry. I washed my hair. It shouldn't matter too much because it's clear embossing powder, so if it goes where I didn't particularly want it, it won't be the worst mishap. It'll just add to the texture. Do you know what's just come to mind? Many of you are not from this area, but Ali Pally. I just had a feeling of, oh, I fancy going to Ali Pally for their craft fair. Does anyone know if that's on this year? If anyone's local to the area? Local to the London area? I don't know if people travel in for that one, but I fancy going. But having said that, the last one that we went to was absolute pants. It was half empty. Half of the stalls weren't even craft related, and the rest of them were just repeats of the one that you the one prior. Nothing's the same anymore, is it? That's right, Vicky, it will indeed. So I'm just going to heat set that. No, Vicky, when I used to go, it was really good. It was worthwhile going. But honestly, I think it was the year before last. I've got a feeling it was, I don't think it was last year. I've got a feeling, no, it would have been the year before. So 2022 was the last one that I went to. Oh my goodness. I mean, it cost nothing to get in. It's like £6. But honestly, I should have asked for my money back. In fact, the only good thing about Ali Pally that year was, you know, the company Dies to Die For. They sell a lot of American brands. They were there. So I think I spent 3/4 of my budget and 3/4 of my time as well, actually, on that stall. That was really nice, actually. They should have more of those sort of stalls there. I think if there was more of those, I'd go. Oh, Tracy isn't she? She's fabulous. I haven't bought from her for so long because I was spending like £100 at a time and I just couldn't justify it. I was in a habit of, as soon as there was a new release from anywhere, I had to have it there and then. Because what I've noticed is, once it goes out of stock, it seldom comes back in stock. So it's a bit of an addiction. Right, just very sloppily putting that back. Right, so that's how we're looking now. So I don't know if you can see, there's a delay. But I don't know if you can see some of them lightning bolts there. Yeah, I think you can just about see some of those. Your stash dealer. I like that. That and the other one that I used was Seven Hills Crafts. They're fantastic as well. Their service is fantastic. Right. What am I doing now? Let's have a look. I'm going to put the card together. And then I'll work on the sentiment. So, let's bring in... it's chaos here. Absolute chaos. So, that's that. I'm just looking for my card blank. Bear with. Oh, here we go. Card blank. So, what I'll do first is stick the panel light side up the top onto my card base. Yeah, bumbleberries. Bumbleberries are a good one as well, but I don't know. I just always gravitated towards the other two. in particular. I don't know why. You just you do, don't you? You just gravitate towards. Bumbleberries were quite good with out of stock items. I found that they came back in quite quick. And bumbleberries. Oh yes, yes, I remember now. Klarna, bumbleberries accepting Klarna, fatal. Absolutely fatal. Right, so I'll pop these on separately, but just being conscious that I need to put them top side up. So top side up on the scallop frame, just gluing it up with my just my Cosmic Shimmer, although any wet glue would suffice. Just trying to get the frame and the little scallops so that they don't all become free and warp and bend and catch on things. So there we go. Right, so this is where it gets tricky, because this isn't quite stable now, it's quite flimsy. So I need to get this on straight and central. Right, that will do. I'm not going to fuss too much because then it goes all warped. I'm just going to remove some of that excess. So you can see just here where I've stamped. There we go, it'll fit together with the headphones there. Right, so let's pop this in. Again, trying to get some of the corners of the scallops there as well, or most of them, because we don't want them unstuck, because then they become they catch on things, don't they, then? Although we haven't got all day to sit here and glue each of them. That'll do nicely. So just popping that back in. This is fun. This part's like a puzzle. It's very satisfying. That just fits in so nicely. There we go. Just, it hasn't fit in as nicely as it should. There we go. So I just had to do a little manoeuvre in there. Don't know where I went wrong there. Rightio. Thinking, guys, thinking. Sentiment. So this is where Dani Doodles comes in. So I'm just going to move this water because I know I'm going to knock it. Okay. So, for this, I have a scrap of black. So I'm just going to stamp it all onto the black, pardon me, and then snip away. Snip it into sections. So it comes as one stamp over 3 lines, but we're going to snip that away to create six lines. Oops. So this is more Narky sentiments. I'm going to bring in my stamping block and we're going to heat emboss this one in white. Just checking the time, making sure that I'm not keeping you too late. I should get this done quickly enough. So bringing in the Versamark again. I'm just going to let that card absorb the ink. doing a little bit of housekeeping. Let's bring in my parchment and white embossing powder. I think I'm going to bring in the jumbo. I can only ever find my tiny little one or this huge thing. But this is just the Cosmic Shimmer embossing powder, white. Oh, sugar. Nearly. Right. Although these bigger pots are much easier to pour back into, aren't they? Which is why I don't like using the tiny little one that I have. Right. So then I'm just going to heat set this. Bit there that I don't want. There we go. So I'm going to pop that stamp away now, guys, because I'll lose it otherwise, won't I? And I don't want it getting mucky with any excess powder lying around. And then all I'm going to do, so bear with, because you may get my head coming to shot and all my grey hairs for this, but I'm going to trim this. I'm not sure if I've got some better scissors for this. Bear with, I'm just looking for my other scissors. These ones will be better. Right, so just going in, just fussy cutting around the letters there. So I'll do them by row first, and then I'll go into each row and cut that down, tidy it up and trim the words away from one another into 6. So there's that one. And then this one. Right, I can't see where I'm cutting here. So I just have to hope. There we go. It's not as neat as I'd like, that part, but it's so much easier when I don't normally fussy cut sentiments, but because of the tails, they lock into the sentence above and below. So the tails on like the G and the F, for example, or the stems and the tails, I don't know what you call them, but they all lock in, so I can't just cut a straight line on the guillotine. Does that make sense? So these call for being fussy cuts, this particular sentiment. But that's fine, it seems to work with the style of the card. So just trimming off the ends. Oh, I've got to trim this one. Let's go that way so I can see where I'm cutting. Do right-handers have the same problem? Or is it a left-handed thing? I can't see. If I did it that way, I can't see the letters. Right, anyway, back to what I was doing. So okay, word fetty. I like that. Thank you, Vicky. Now I feel really silly calling them towels and stems. Ascenders and descenders. Ascenders, descenders, ascenders, descenders. I nearly said EastEnders there. Right, so this one I'm going to cut into 2. I didn't mean 2 push. All your buttons I've left as 1. And then I was just... I'm going to cut that away from looking for, and then that leaves mute. And then all I need to do is, here I started a little bit too high, or I didn't leave enough space, so I'm going to bring them down, I think. So making sure that it still reads as it should. So I didn't mean, there we go. So I'm going to start a little bit lower. Yeah, I like that. Sorry guys, bit of powder on that messy mat there. Right, I didn't mean, and I'm just putting these off at random angles so that they're not all too uniform. It just looks like confetti. What do you think, Vicky? I didn't mean to push all your buttons. And we'll go that way. I was just... Sorry, I've just popped in and I've seen in the comments and I've seen something about sandwiches and coffee shops, and you've got my attention. I was just... Where are we getting nice sandwiches? Where's this coffee shop? Oh, bugger. Looking for... And finally, mute. There we go, I did it. There's 2 cuts. So very much the same, just rectified a few errors which I made the first time round, just to make that a little bit more cleaner. That's it, Vicky. I like that. I really like that term. I'll be using that in future. And I've just bought actually more like these type of things. So I've just bought more of these. Perfect for that. They're great when I make bookmarks to go with my books. Right. What do you think? Oh, so she, what do you think, she says, and then she just drops it. So that is it. That is the card. I haven't made a DL for a long time, actually. It was quite refreshing to make a DL. I think that would look quite good on an A6 or an A2 as well. Yeah. So again, that was using more Narky sentiments. It is product of the week for a 2nd week running. So in the shop that will have 20% off. That lasts for 1 week until next week. Hopefully I'll use a different one next week. And hopefully I'll be as organised and go on in advance and change that over to the product of the week in advance next time. Thank you, Vicky. It is a cheeky one, isn't it? You don't know where it's going, and then you just see that last word, and it's the icing on the cake. So I will be back again next Monday, same time, same place. Hopefully different. Well, absolutely, we'll be working with a different stamp set next week. Thank you, Mandy. Yeah, mine too, actually. I do love blues, and then pinks. But yeah, these are quite a go-to colour for me. Thank you. Right. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. I really appreciate it, as always. Hopefully, I'll catch many of you again next Monday. I do try and advertise it, but I have set up an event link, series link, but I don't know if that's very visible. I'm not too advanced with technology, I'll be honest, so I think people might be missing it. Thanks, Mum. Thanks, Scott. So until next week, I'll love you and leave you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. That is all. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.